bienvenidos todos a Gears and Glory, the Barcelona Grand Prix. I do not have a Spanish accent, but hey, we can speak Spanish on this podcast.
Barcelona, as George said.
Listen, I can't get into it. I can't get into it.
Barcelona.
We'll have a whole other podcast about. Anyways.
A whole other episode about the Barcelona and about every F1 platform calling it Barca as if that's not a nickname for their football team, and that's a whole other thing. But we don't have time for that on today's episode of Gears and Glory because Barcelona.
Yeah, delivered.
Yeah. Did not disappoint.
Yeah. Let me take us through practice because whatever, who cares? We want to talk about the race. So, all right, to knock out FP 1, 2, and 3, there were a couple of rookies or like non-normal seated drivers in FP1. So we had Ryo Hirakawa in for Haas and Victor Martins in for Williams. And they did fine. Nobody crashed. It was good. Everybody was talking this weekend, rough actually, when we get to the race, about how Carlos Sainz, Spaniard, has never not scored at the Spanish Grand Prix. And like he's in this list of like other drivers who have also like met the same criteria, but the differentiating factor for Carlos Sainz is that he's raced there 10 times. The rest of the people on the list have like 2, 3, 4 races there maybe, but like he's never not scored there in his entire career. So like that's huge, and then hugely disappointing because he did not score during the race, but we'll get there.
Thanks, Williams.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Ferrari. You can't see it because it's black on black, but I am wearing Ferrari today. FP2, nothing really crazy. The only thing here is that the commentators were discussing some of the upgrades. So there was a new front wing for Ferrari, and I think that this note that I have means that Mercedes and McLaren also are trying a new front wing. And I think they were saying something about how like each team needs to have like a minimum of 6 to 8 wings. Some of them are like the same spec, some of them are different specs, so that you won't have to like take penalties if you need to switch out your nose. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. That didn't age well in the race.
Yeah, and then this is when we start to see McLaren / specifically Oscar dominance, because Oscar topped FP2 and FP3, and by the end of FP3, Oscar was literally half a second faster than Lando, who was in P2 for the at the end of that session. But one thing that I do think would be neat is like we don't hear all of the radios, and we don't necessarily know what runs the teams are doing during practice. And I feel like it would be such cool added context to be like, oh, like the Ferraris are like 6th and 7th at the end of this practice. Yeah, okay, but they focused on doing their long runs. Like they were doing their long runs, and obviously FP3 is more geared toward practicing those quali runs. Yeah. But like I think it would still be super interesting to have like how they have a little P for pit stop, have like a Q for a quali run, an L for a long run or something, just like contextualize that, but also maybe like we care way more than like the average viewer, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
So...
And I think it's really interesting because I think I sent a screenshot to the group chat, but I think it was all but one team brought like multiple performance upgrades to this weekend. So like, I don't know, we completely saw that like working out for everyone.
Yeah. And like Barcelona used to be the track that was the testing track before we moved. So like there's so much context and history here, which I think also geared up to make it a really good race of like people know what to expect out of like the track itself. And it was interesting because the C1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6 like range of tires, like the hard, medium, and soft, were at 4, 5, 6. So it was the harder end. So it was like it was going to be like a driver's race, not a tire management race, you know?
Yeah.
So that was always going to happen, which I think was interesting. And like to test like rolling out new upgrades at a track like that used to be a testing track, you know, absolutely makes all the sense in the world, even if it like didn't necessarily play out and nothing really changed.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun little fact about the tires, which we can go deeper into when we do our Belgium recap. But for the first time this year, we're going to see, so like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but with the tire allocation, the compounds are always like consecutive. So like 4, 5, 6. Belgium is the first round where we're going to see them not be consecutive. I think it's like 3, 5, 6 or something.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, no, but that's good because it'll be like a crazy time advantage with super high deg.
Yeah.
But like the fastest lap isn't even a point thing anymore. So it would have to be like somebody committing to like undercutting or overcutting or like a multiple stop, like more than just one stop minimum.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. So I feel like we can go more in depth about that when Belgium does come around. But I feel like it's a fun fact to talk about while we are talking about it.
Yeah.
That's so rare.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's really interesting. And then to move us on to quali, I just really want to talk about how Franco Colapinto got stuck at the front. Everyone was like,
oh my God.
They were like, okay, time to do my last run of the quali session. Nice try.
Franco was like, wait,
actually, my drive line says no.
Yeah,
but like,
which was crazy.
So freaking funny about this incident. I didn't watch qualifying. I went to bed, right? So I wake up and all I see on my phone is Franco Colapinto is being taken to the stewards or whatever for investigation, and Lance Stroll is backing out of the Grand Prix. And I've thought, have these two fought? Have they punched on? Because why is hand hurting again all of a sudden? So I'm sitting there going, what has happened between these two? How boring when I watch qualifying and find out they were...
You just get stuck.
They were so unrelated.
Boring!
Yes. Oh, and I do want to talk about the Lance thing, but I want to hit the rest of quali first. So, whatever. Everybody qualified where they qualified. What I really want to talk about is how Yuki was out in Q1. Because it just makes me... Yuki is a good driver, and it feels like... And they talk about, like, the Red Bull can be so good... But, like, I don't know if the car fundamentally is good or if it just, like, has the capability to be crazy when Max is driving specifically.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think, well, considering that Isaac is performing pretty much as Yuki was performing in the Racing Bulls, that should put some, I guess, reassurance into, like... Yuki's mind that it is the car, because I don't want to see that second seed diminish another good driver's mental health just because the car itself is fundamentally set up for the capability and the style of one specific driver.
Yeah.
I think we are having a time delay, I fear.
Oh my God, it's lagging.
Yeah, it's really
funny.
You say your thing.
I have to laugh that somebody asked Yuki about, like, post-race, about how he feels that the Racing Bulls is performing better than him in the Red Bull, and, like, does he miss the RB? Like, does he wish he could go back? And I'm trying to find the freaking quote, but I cannot for the life of me find it. But he basically said, like, I don't care, like, good for them. It's nice to see they're performing well, but I want the challenge and the pressure of the Red Bull. He's like, I don't want to go back. Like, I think
good though.
Good for him, but like we're sitting here going like, ooh, I would not want to go to Red Bull if I was these boys. But like, bro's happy there.
I mean, this is what he wanted for so long.
Yeah.
Well, and Christian Horner came out and, like, recently was published, I think, in F1, like, news outlet, just saying, like, we're going to give him time. Like, and he said he's had flashes of promise. And I'm like, there's so many confounding variables here with the car kind of sucking. So, but, like, Christian Horner has come out and said, like, we're not going to kick him out right away. And I think even Helmut Marko, who I found out recently has a glass eye, is, like, going to... Yeah.
Get him out. Dude, what in the
Grandpa home.
is this man? Go back to the bloody...
Where is his car
thing? Where you came from? Go back, turn into your bloody rat thing.
Yeah,
go terrorize Ron.
Needs to come and pick him up and take him home. Back to the retirement home, man.
So that's that. But
because he shows so much promise, like, even though he qualifies last or starts from the pit lane, that man can fight up and overtake during the race.
Yeah. Like, he has good race potential. And I think that's why they're not... And he's also been in the sport for so much longer than the previous rookies that have been in that seat. Like, not just Liam, but also Pierre and Albon and Carlos when they were there.
Yeah.
He has more experience than they did. And I think that they've seen what his consistency is like across the season. And some drivers are just crap at qualifying. Like, some are crap at qualifying, some are crap at the race and really good at qualifying. Like, isn't Arthur really good at qualifying? Really
I've said it a million times on this podcast. I'll say it again. Put the Leclerc brothers in a car together, because Arthur cannot qualify for the life of him. Charles can. And then when it comes to a race, Charles Leclerc can't race, but Arthur Leclerc, boy, he will fight from P30 to P1. Like, do you know what I mean? Get these men in a car together.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Help
Tag
the
team.
friends here. Franz Herman, Jesus Christ. Fans.
Oh my god.
Having a
But
morning.
so we did also mention Lance, and we know that I'm a Lance truther, so I'm very interested in this. But before we get to the race, because this obviously happened before, Lance did not race. Also, there was no reserve in there, which, like, the constructors, hello?
Yeah.
And so there's been so much media coming out of, like, because Lance didn't race, there was allegedly that he had, like, had a temper, like, outburst, and then, like, the mechanics were coming out commenting, like, no, that's wrong, actually.
Yeah.
You're wrong. But then, because then it's like, oh, well, like, his hand injury is acting up and he needs, like, time. But, like, I don't know. What does that even mean? And then also just, like, why didn't you put a reserve in there? Like, you can find someone.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
like you
Valtteri
gave up on the points.
Valtteri was in the paddock in Spain. Like, they could have grabbed him.
Wait, Valtteri Bottas is 40 minutes away from me. He like posted on his story that he's in Colorado. I was like, I was like, do we go? I'm sorry, do I get in my car and drive to try to find Valtteri Bottas?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I might have a weekend adventure. Who knows?
I did actually see on Valtteri, though, that if he were to step in as Aston's reserve driver, he would have to serve a grid penalty that he obtained in Abu Dhabi 2024.
Yes!
Yeah, he would have to serve that penalty. Yeah.
Oh my god. You guys know I love Valtteri as much as the next person, but it is time to let Felipe Drogovic into that seat.
I think so. I think they need
back. He is openly said he would ditch Le Mans to race in Canada.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's the crazy thing, too, is, like, I saw a story. I just saw the headline, and I couldn't tell you where. I couldn't tell you who it was by. But it was like, is Aston Martin shaping up to kick Lance Stroll out?
Yeah. I was like, whoa.
Well, from the report that I read about Lance's injury was that there were, and obviously you can only believe so much with reports on Lance because they always spin it in a bad way. But from what I'd read is that he'd been having ongoing issues since his surgery with his hands. And it had kind of been like an ongoing management sort of thing. So he'd kind of like constantly been in pain and everything like that because there were supposedly potentially complications with the surgery, either the surgery or the recovery that meant that he wasn't like back to 100%. Now, is there any validity or truth in that? We'll never know because we're not Lance and we're not the doctors that see him. But that kind of end of that article kind of said, will this be the phase out of Lance? Like, will he be able to push through the pain anymore?
Oh my God.
Or has he kind of been pushing through it long enough and this is like the end of the line?
Yikes.
Well, because from what I saw, he's going back in for another surgery with that same doctor.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, wow.
It leaves me wondering, like, I hate to bring Daniel Ricciardo into this, but, like,
You don't? You love to bring Daniel Ricciardo into this?
We can bring Danny in whenever.
Well, I love to bring him in, but just not in this light, because the fact that he couldn't recover from his hand injury, and he saw the same surgeon as Lance.
Yeah.
You know, so is there...
Someone has to stop working on hands.
Yeah. So is this Lance Stroll situation going to be another Daniel Ricciardo? Because I've literally seen people trying to say, like, are we going to see another mid-season swap, but the Lance out? Like, there's so much.
I feel like if he is having ongoing pain and he doesn't think that he can continue pushing through the pain every single race, it would maybe make sense to swap him with Felipe, for example, or Valtteri, and have Lance be the reserve driver.
Yeah.
And have someone else in there full time.
Yeah.
That, to me, would make sense. And we know that Lawrence bloody loves Lance to bits. Like, I think that he'd do anything that he could to keep Lance in F1 in any way. But yeah, much to consider, and I think we'll see more come out in the next couple of weeks. Because if he's not going to, he definitely won't be racing in Canada if he's just had surgery. So I guess we'll see what the long-term or the short-term management will be in a couple of days.
It would suck, though. That is his home race. You know, that sucks.
Yeah.
But
saw this girl on TikTok that every time she buys a ticket to a Grand Prix to see somebody race in their home race, they either DNF or don't race at all.
Can she stop going, please?
Literally. I was like, can you, calm it, please?
Okay, so the home race curse continues because then Lance isn't racing in Canada.
The only person who was a good home race is Charles Leclerc. He broke his Monaco curse and just said, fuck
he's Carlos had a bad home race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fernando finally scored points. Okay.
Let's get into it. Where do we want to start? We can just start with the beginning of the race.
I think I really, when I think of that race, my first point that comes to mind is Albon. What on earth?
I forgot about that.
So I've just mentioned how they've got a certain number of front wing allocations or whatever. I say that didn't age well because I am not exaggerating when I say within the first 6 laps or so of this race, he was on to his second front wing.
Yeah.
He hit the first one, got it changed, came back out, damaged the second one. They said, mate, get out of this race, we're retiring.
Wait, but that was the worst part. So they say you have to DNF, but also serve a penalty. So do a slow lap in and serve your penalty and then go out and do, and I think the commentators were saying this is the most pointless lap in his career. To then to just do one to just come back in and retire the car.
Yeah. But I mean, if he didn't serve that, was it a stop and go or a drive through? If he didn't serve that penalty in the pits, it would have turned into a grid penalty.
Yeah.
For the next race, I think. Because if he was already he would have already finished P20 if he DNF'd. So I think that grid penalty would have followed across to Canada.
And I mean, we never really saw drivers do this too much, this sneaky, we'll just do a really slow lap to serve the penalty. We never really saw it until, I don't know if it was 2023 or 2024, but in Japan, where we saw it with Sergio Perez. He was would not race and he had to just go out again just to serve his penalty before he retired. But there was 50 laps in between when he went into the garage and he came back out for the penalty. So he had already been classed as a DNF and then they're like, wait, he's back.
I remember that.
That was insane. I'm sure it's Japan. I'm running with that because I'm pretty sure it was, but if it's not, sue me.
I thought it was one of the European races, but honestly, they all blur into one. But I do remember that. And I was like, wait, why is Perez coming back out?
Yeah.
And on the leaderboard thing, it said minus 54 or something.
Yeah.
It was so many laps behind.
Oh,
and he just came out, did a lap, and then pitted. And then it was DNF. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah. That was I feel like that was the start of where we really saw drivers being cheeky with this serving a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Echo. I never thought I'd be saying that. I miss him. I miss him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, we'll see what they do for Cadillac. There's been so many names thrown out. I saw even Mick Schumacher thrown out for it. So that's something I'm very curious to see. They did announce a new partnership recently with Tommy, I think.
Yeah. They
exciting.
That marketing was terrible. They literally only announced it through Forbes and then slowly picked it up. So literally nobody knew. When Brit sent it to the group chat, that was 5 days later.
They didn't announce it on social media at all. They didn't have a social media strategy for it at all.
Terrible.
It was all through an online news, a newspaper.
They're gonna have to learn quick.
We are heading to America because Soph's already there, but Brit and I are heading to America. We need to take over Cadillac's marketing and content strategy because what was that?
The Gears and Glory girls will save them from their
Their demise.
shit start. But you'd think that Tommy, being so kind of experienced in F1 for so many years, would have contributed to their announcement, or like they would have posted something on their own channels. Like, it seems too calculated and last minute,
my partnership wheel gears are spinning in my head because it just doesn't make sense the way that they've done this. I think essentially is why I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, it's strange.
Announcing with Forbes made total sense, but there should have been a press release that went out under I can't freaking speak, embargo, and said, do not release this until after this time, which is when Forbes is releasing it first.
Yeah.
But then please release stuff, because but even then, there was no social media teasing announcement coming or anything like that. You know what I mean? There was nothing. And we saw this with their party in Miami or wherever it was. That was so underwhelming.
Really?
I'm sorry, but Tommy is sponsoring the Formula One movie, the AXP team.
Yeah.
They've done more. They've done more for that than they did announcing
for the fake
Cadillac.
team that doesn't exist.
What? They could have leveraged the height of the F1 movie, because the two teams, Cadillac and the AXP team from the movie, they have similar color scheme and everything. It would be very easy to relate the two together if there was obviously no contractual kind of red tape that they couldn't do it, but they could easily play the two into each other.
Yeah. And you know what? Speaking of bad social media strategy, can we talk about Audi? Because they...
I've forgotten about them.
About this after the race, because it plays into that. But I'm going to forget. So they posted a photo that was completely AI of Nico Hulkenberg in an Audi suit next to an Audi car. And it was blatantly clear it was AI. It barely looked like Nico. And they posted that. Let me find the post, because it was absolutely terrible. And I don't know who approved that post. I seriously don't, because it was so bad.
You just know it was some old boomer that falls for every single AI video, and they're like, oh yeah, that looks hella realistic. Hit post.
Yeah, literally.
Okay, wait. Oh my god.
Barely looks like Nico.
I hate that. He looks like an action figure.
And also, I might just say their Instagram as a whole kind of looks like a fan page. Their bio is like this. And it really looks like a fan created this.
Good
Interesting.
God.
Next, round 10, Canadian GP.
I hate that.
It's absolutely awful. It needs some work, desperately.
Okay. Yeah,
okay. Back to Barcelona really quick.
Yeah.
For the rest of the episode.
We went a little bit
a little sidebar. I want to talk about the Ferrari team orders. I want to talk about the Ferrari team orders, because that happened really early on, because it was very clear. And this was, I think, one of the few times, or the only time in the feature race that Lewis has outqualified Charles.
Yeah.
But Charles did it on purpose to save tires. That's the strategy behind it. So he's on good tires. I don't know. I'm having mixed feelings about Lewis Hamilton, because I think Lewis Hamilton is also perhaps having a little bit of an attitude that I'm not vibing with. And it's just so interesting because I think he was having it a little bit at the end with Mercedes. And I understand being upset. I don't know.
I have always... Look, I love Lewis. He is a great driver. He's set so many records. He's done so much for the sport. Fundamentally, as a person and a driver, he is amazing. So great. But these last couple seasons, I've said it since I started watching F1, he is such a diva.
Yeah.
He is such a diva. He complains all the time. Warranted. I know. Warranted. I'm not saying he can't. But he complains all the time. He is so picky. He has so many opinions, and Max is exactly the same. He has so many opinions. He's, very set in his ways. It's fine. I get it. However, when you're going to a new team, I feel like there's a teething period where you kind of have to give and compromise a little bit. And I almost it's just not clicking at Ferrari.
Yeah.
Well, and it's gotta
And
be
it wasn't
tough.
clicking the last couple of years at Mercedes either.
And with Ferrari, like, they've got to be so entrenched in their ways because they've been on the grid since the beginning. They've never
Yeah.
not been part of the sport, right? So it's like a boomer team energy with like a Gen X trying to like teach them like, okay,
Yeah.
this is how you've been. You don't need a typewriter. Like, I can learn how to use your typewriter, but like, this
Yeah.
is a really big pain point because I've been using Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
So
What
it's
a
just like,
way to
I know it's got to be tricky. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know. And like, obviously, grain of salt to everything we say. Like, it's not rational to expect people to be perfectly media trained 100% of the time. But also, like,
Mhm.
it just feels like it's been happening a lot. Like, where Lando, I feel like maybe is feeling better about himself and the sport and his performance.
Yeah.
Lewis just feels like he's having the opposite. And it's just like, you have a million cameras on you. Of course, I'm going to watch. I'm going to like psychoanalyze you, even though I have
Yeah, of
zero
course.
credit. And it literally doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, Lewis, you're old. And
Yeah.
this sounds like really psychotic from my part, but I sit here wondering, because, like, let's be so real for a second. Fernando, Lewis, you're an old man, especially
Yes.
when it comes to, like, race car drivers. You might as well be deceased. You are old.
Yeah, actually, wait. Side note: F1 movie, Brad
Oh.
Pitt. He's like in his 50s
Yeah.
in the movie.
I really don't like Brad Pitt.
No, me
Oh
either.
yeah, and they're like, oh, like he
Could they
drove
not
with
have
Senna.
gotten? I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Patrick
Sorry.
Dempsey!
Why did they not put Patrick Dempsey in?
That
Because
Why?
the fact that he's more attractive and nice to look at, but the
But
fact
also he knows.
he knows how to race cars. Brian probably has enough points to get a super license and could have actually used an F1 car for the movie. Ugh.
Yes. Yes.
I
Anyways,
understand.
Anyways.
Anyway, back to Fernando and Lewis. I feel like it doesn't, but I feel like it all comes back to way back in like 2007 where Fernando Alonso held Lewis up in the pit lane during qualifying so he couldn't set another lap and got pole. It all comes back to that. And now they're competing who can be the last man standing in F1, even though they both suck now.
yeah,
why-
I mean it's tough. It's tough with Fernando getting his first points of the season this race. Like that's in a car that's been competitive. Like I'm sorry, Lance, and I like Lance, but like he's not the one to carry. Has been carrying.
Fernando has literally DNF'd more races than he's finished.
Yeah.
That's not good luck.
I think a great way to look at it and the difference in overcoming problems on track, right, is Ferrari hasn't been super, super competitive in, since like 2022-ish.
Yeah.
But if we look at how Carlos was on the radio during the race, he was suggesting strategies. He was, talking about other drivers, losing grip and when should we, he was very strategic on the radio. And Lewis is very different where he'll be on the radio and he'll just ask for something and then Ferrari, in his defense, won't give it to him. Yeah. But it's like, okay, but like surely you have other, experience that you can pull from other than just relying on the engineer telling you how far away you are from the driver in front. Like, yeah, surely there are other things that you can leverage to be competitive when the team isn't giving you what you need. Like, I don't know, we can see a difference.
It's not just like a breakup from Mercedes. Like, I think Carlos had a breakup with Ferrari, but Lewis had a divorce with Mercedes. Yeah. Like, it was that much closer. It was that much longer.
Yeah.
Whereas,
and it
like,
was a
all
little
of
bit
these
more
other...
blindsided.
Yeah, like, silly season was breakups and then the divorce.
Yeah.
And the divorce proceedings during, like, all of the 2024 season.
Yeah. It got really nasty.
Well, Toto literally called it a divorce. He said Lewis left him for an Italian stallion.
I mean...
Yeah, wouldn't you, Toto?
Fair.
But, like, it makes me wonder, because, like, obviously Lewis is labelled, like, the GOAT of F1 because he's got the 7 or 8 world titles, depending on how you see it. And, like, Max Verstappen, he's got 4, but he seems to be able to, like, pull his experience and talent into his strategy and performance more.
Yes.
Like, this is such a, like off-track example, but, like, when he could hear over the radio that both Ferraris had pitted by the sound of the battle guns. Like, do you know what I mean? And he's then thinking about, like, what's our pit stop going to look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
expect
well,
them to be
and
able to
it's like a
just
generation
hands down,
thing.
but like surely you can pull some sort of strategy to be like, hey, what if we try this, or like, do you know what I mean?
Trying.
Yeah.
Help, please, they need it.
Yeah, I feel like from what we can see anyway, Lewis isn't using his knowledge and ability, at least in front of the cameras and everything, to better Ferrari. He's relying on how Ferrari work to better his race.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's an even exchange. And I don't know, maybe that's just him being like, I don't want to just come in and bulldoze everything and run, like, I'll try and make it work.
Yeah.
But that's, from what we can see, that's my opinion on how the season has gone so far.
And it's interesting to like discuss like the way the radio has been working, especially with like new dynamics in relationships, because it feels like the same story happened during Barcelona for like a handful of different drivers. Like it wasn't just like Lewis feeling frustrated. Like a lot of the drivers got messages of like, okay, time to push, and they're like, I am. I don't know what you want from me. Because I have noted here, I think Lando, Charles, and George were all asked to push, and they were like, what do you think I'm doing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not out here putting in slow laps.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not Monaco.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't push anymore!
Yeah. Even Crofty said that to Nico Rosberg. And side note, can we get Rosberg to commentate every single race? Because I love him.
Yeah.
I love him commentating every single race. Him and Jensen, get him in.
It's so hard when Nico Rosberg is on Sky Sports, because David Coulthard is often on F1 TV. And I love that David Coulthard talks about the track being a living thing. He said it again this weekend. And that's something that I really identify with when watching races and seeing them interact with the conditions of that given moment in time. He talks about that a lot. But then it's like Nico Rosberg, I love his commentary. I love his commentary.
He spoke about Lewis so much in that
That's
race.
another divorce. That's another messy divorce.
He was Lewis's biggest fan in Barcelona. But yeah, Crofty was saying like, oh, how like do you feel as a driver when your engineer told you to push when you're already giving 100%? And Nico said he was like, even if they look like they're giving 100%, they can always pull that little bit extra if they feel like they're about to get overtaken, or they feel like they're about to lose the fastest lap or something like that. But he said there's always a little tiny bit more that you can give in like one corner that will pay off. Or like a little bit more in that racing line, or come off the brake a little bit earlier or whatever. So he did say that even though it is really annoying, the drivers will find somewhere to push just that little bit more.
Yeah, interesting. Well, speaking of the opposite of pushing, this is a horrible segue. Let me talk about the pit stops really quick, because they were horrible. They were so bad. Carlos Sainz had like a 10-second stop, and Lewis had like a 5-second stop, because one of the, like, I think it was one of the rear tires, one of the right tires was not going on or something. He lost the place because of it.
It's like they punish him for talking. They're like,
yikes.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
On that note, I am going to jump off, but I will see you all in the next episode.
Bye, Brit.
All right, bye.
But that race was entirely boring. The like complete middle section was painful. The only thing that brought me enjoyment was Behrman and Lawson absolutely battling.
Yes, okay, so that's like the only notes that I have during the race are like we already talked about Alex Albon. That was one of the notes, right? The one note that I have is that Lando had the speed to get past Max, and then Max just like let him.
Yeah.
And he like picked his battle this one time, which I was like, okay, weird.
Yeah.
And then like Alonso got points or whatever. Kimi had engine failure.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my god. Actually, yeah, let's talk about that, because up until about lap 58, like I said, boring. Absolute snooze fest.
And like Kimi was having a decent race.
It was really sad. And you wouldn't have heard it so because it was on the Sky Sports commentary. But Nico Rosberg, like, we saw that Kimi was in the gravel, and he, as we went into a replay, he's gone, oh, I really hope that the car shut down on him and that it wasn't just driver error. Like, it was so cute. He was fully like, he was concerned for like, he was like, I really hope this wasn't his fault, because that would suck.
But like the Mercedes power unit has been a big fat L this season so
Useless.
far.
Literally useless. Like,
Double in
oh,
Monaco. Come on, that's tough. That's really tough. But yeah, so before Kimmy even has his DNF, Liam, I have the note. Liam is sending it on everyone, and it was just like him and Ollie the whole time, also battling
he just,
under blue flag conditions.
yeah,
What are you doing? Also, Liam Lawson, please shave your mustache.
get rid
I
of
don't
it.
like it.
Yeah. I don't like much. But no, literally. And I fear that motivated him to cause the havoc he caused. But during
Yeah.
one of their battles, it allowed Max to get closer to Lando.
Yes.
But Max is still having a go like, what are these idiots doing? Max,
Yeah.
say thank you. Say thank you. They're helping you.
He was so mad about it. He was big mad about it. He was like waving, he was like upshifting with one hand and waving like his cane at the young ones with the other hand. I'm like, bro, race your car. Both
Literally,
hands on the wheel. What are you talking about?
maybe you could have, like, I don't know, gotten Lando. You were that close to him. And, like, yeah, I don't know. That Max had his little whingy baby moment during Spain. But, like,
Yeah.
it's kind of entertaining, but also so many times I just wanted to be like, shut up, Max. Just shut it. Shut it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Well, so then we have the actual safety car. So Kimmy off
Yeah.
into the gravel because his car just like died on him,
Poor
which
Charlie.
sucked. But then, as safety cars do, everyone dives into the pits.
Yeah.
So McLaren double stacked,
That was so
Max
interesting.
pitted, which he just like went in. They were just like, okay, box, box. Ferrari also double stacked, but then Max comes out of the pits and he goes, "What tires are these?"
Yeah.
And GP's like, "Oh, that's the hearts," and all Max says is, "Why?"
Yeah. He's like, what's that for? Babe,
Yeah.
use the rest of your tires. This is all you have.
That's what we had left. So
Yeah.
yeah, actually in the post race, like in the interview that F1 released of like post race highlights, it's like the short clip on YouTube with like a handful of drivers in it.
Yeah.
They're like asking him about the strategy, and he's like, "We might never know if it had been better to stay out." And I think it would have. I maintain that he should not have pitted. He would have gained positions, and he would have been able to keep it because then the
Fine.
safety car went so long.
Yeah. And Lewis's, they love wasting laps, don't they?
Yes, exactly. I had that written down in quotes.
Absolutely killed me because, yeah, they do. And good lord, that safety car, thank God for that safety car because
It
I
made
don't think
things
there's
fun.
really that many fun notes to talk about while it was under safety car. Like, it took the back markers about 2 laps to catch up. But
Oh
when
my god, yeah.
car light went out and the race went back green, Piastri, Norris, cool, maintained their lead nicely. Max Verstappen around turn 14, I think that's the last corner,
Mm-hmm.
sideways, 180 degrees to the track, basically. Like,
Yes.
literally sideways around that last corner.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Terrifying.
Charles Leclerc said, bet.
But the fact that Max didn't lose it, the commentators, I think it was DC, I think it was Julian Palmer and Alex Jakes who are like the F1 TV gang. They were all like, honestly, it's a miracle he's still racing. Like, it's a miracle he's still out there because it reminded me of Alonso catching the gravel, I think in China last year,
Yeah.
where there was just like a snap, and that's when you can kind of see like maybe with Alonso it's like flashes, but with Max it's just like him displaying like yes, he's an incredible driver. His reflexes are insane to not lose the car that way. But then, yeah, Charles was there and he said, "Thank you very much."
Yeah. Max made
And he
it
gave
look.
you a little smooch on the cheek on the
Yeah.
way by.
Yeah. I have to speak about that. Like, so we saw Max and Charles slightly come together on the way to turn 1, just a little, and they were.
Wait, Brit would have loved this. Too
it.
bad she couldn't finish the episode. Brit would have loved the Verstappen content.
Literally, just a little peck on the way through turn 1.
It was nothing. He was
It
so
was
mad about it though. Max was so
Max
pissed.
was reeling over this. The funniest part to me is Max going, he hit me. Max, he continued in a straight line. You moved. You hit him. Like, Charles didn't even move, and Max has just gone, hey, he hit me. It felt like breaking up my toddlers from a fight.
Oh my god.
That's what it felt like. oh, Lucy did this. No, she didn't. You just attacked her. That's what it felt like. Breaking up toddlers.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then later on, when George is catching up, and we can talk about the incident more, and it's like so recent to Charles, and they're like, you need to give the place back. Because I think what happened is they had a little brief bit of contact, and Max goes off into the runoff area and pulls in front of George because he's like, it was my corner. Which, like, everyone, like, that's what makes you good drivers. If you always believe that that's your corner, because that means you're going to send it into it and try and make the pass or keep the position. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But GP's like, give the place back. And Max is like still mad about the Charles pass.
Yeah.
So it's like his problems, he's just like not got enough arms for his grocery bags of issues that he's dealing with at the moment. But then, and this is like what I wanted to talk about this all episode, is the actual contact into, it was one of the, I do not know what turn it is, but it's one of the more sharp turns,
I
slow
think it was
speed
turn
turns.
5. I think.
Yeah.
I do all
And
the footage.
the like aerial footage looks like Max literally went skirt like directly into George.
Yeah.
But the onboard,
Luck, George Russell.
in the onboard though, Max is working really hard to like just turn. He was on the hard tires, let's not forget. They were not warm.
Yeah.
All these safety car laps and everything, like not enough like swerving can like heat up those tires in those conditions with people on mediums and softs.
Yeah.
So I maintain that he like didn't intend to, but also
Yes, but no. Because
yeah.
like at the same time, if you're intentionally letting him pass, like drivers behind you, you had room to actually slow down a bit before the corner to make sure George made it through. And like, yes, it's hard to turn, but he also would have known that.
Or like
And
pick a different corner.
yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Like it was like if he wasn't so angry and reeling still, I fear he may have thought it through a bit better and never would have happened. But it did happen, and that was
that's who he is.
in a George Russell Max Verstappen household. Really,
Yeah.
really difficult.
But like that's always like that's Max behavior. That's just like how he acts. He just like has been so far in the front that we don't see him fight and get angry anymore.
Yeah.
He hasn't really had reasons to. And now that he does, everyone's like, "Oh, like blah blah blah, like this is no." He's been this way.
That I voted Max Driver of the Day after the incident. I voted him Driver of the Day because of that, because that was peak comedy.
It was
all that
made the race.
It is like when he doesn't go his way, he has these bursts of outlash and borderline violence.
Yes.
And I love all the edits of people editing footage of the crash to that audio. Thank you, George, for giving us that beautiful piece of cinema. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here because like that's the thing. It's a gossip sport. It's a political sport.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's about the fastest driver, but like, yes, and it's also about like all of the rumors and all of the dynamics. Like that's part of why I really like the sport is it's not just who's fastest, and it's like so tied to rumors and like breaking news and stuff like that. So the last piece that we got out of the safety car was my driver of the day, Nico Hulkenberg, passing the aforementioned quote unquote GOAT, Lewis Hamilton. So I think it's hilarious that Max got driver of the day, but I think Nico deserved it.
Oh yeah. He was like my vote for driver of the day off the cameras, but I had to vote for Max because that was just But with our personal Gears and Glory driver of the day, we did vote Nico Hulkenberg because that was deserved. P5, closest
in a Sauber.
While.
Yeah.
I feel it. Podium is coming for him.
I hope so. I want him to have something good. Because he's been in the sport a long time and not had a ton of results.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
But yeah, so he go ahead.
No, you go. It's off topic.
Oh. So okay, no, I was just gonna say he ended up P5. Max ended up with a 10-second penalty, which bumped him down to P10. So he kind of screwed his race in that way. And then obviously the podium was an amazing, beautiful, spectacular Oscar, Lando, Charles. Love it.
And I mean, Max now has one podium penalty point left to lose before he has a race ban. And somebody was saying that he wants it. It was like there's whatever it was, it can line up. a race band can line up with like the 24 of Daytona or Nürburgring.
It was like the Le Mans, because then Drugovich would go to Aston and they could have a reserve in the Red Bull while Max does the 24 hours of Le Mans or something like that. Yeah.
It'd be crazy
We'll
if
see.
they continued their Max hate and they were like, actually, because you're banned from F1, you're also banned from other FIA sanctioned events.
Oh my God. Yeah, they would. But the funniest thing I think about the way that the penalty points work is that once you get 12 and then you serve your ban, then they're all gone.
Yeah.
Then you have a clean slate, and I feel like that would be worse.
Kevin Magnussen took that for granted.
Yes.
Absolutely love that.
Yeah, he took it and ran.
Yeah. But it's funny because there's an F3 driver, Nicola Lacorte, and he accumulated 5 penalty points in Monaco. Came in with 5 penalty points, and then continued on to get like 13 in Spain. So he got a race ban, understandably, on his birthday. It was his birthday. It was Grand Prix, and that was the time they went, hey, here's the rest of your penalty points. You're actually out next race.
Oh my God. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, so that was
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He's just God.
We love our little psycho Alpine drivers.
I love a crazy driver. I truly do.
It's really like to me as well, because back to the F1 craziness, but it's interesting because when we get to the end of a set of regulations, so like the year before the new regs come in, we always see really close racing where like a new champion's crowned because there's been tight racing or whatever.
Yeah.
But the McLarens are still getting away. They are near, like, they're in constructors' terms, they are 200 points ahead of Ferrari.
It's insane.
Like,
which Ferrari is second in the constructors now. Let's fucking go. That's huge. I was so excited about it.
Yeah. Alpine is unfortunately P10, so we're doing really.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
It's a touchy topic because we're scoring points. Gasly is carrying Alpine. Yeah, we're still P10.
Yeah,
but it's fine.
It's fine. I don't believe you, but it's fine.
But anyway, what I'm saying is McLaren is absolutely in a rocket ship still. Take off. Like, we don't see, like, obviously next year.
This was the flexi wing.
Yeah, close race.
Like, we're cracking down on the flexi wing.
They've just gotten around that loophole again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone was saying. Now that they're cracking down on it, this will either, like, see racing become close, or McLaren's just going to completely still take off because that wasn't due, and now everyone else is downgraded because they can't use it.
Yeah.
That second option.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. I don't have too many notes left, just about the post-race. The cameramen absolutely adore when Charles is on the podium, and they're, like, all up in his face again. This time, we got a little wave from the man himself.
Ferrari fan.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally.
Peak comedy.
No.
Yeah, and then, so, it was really exciting because, like, the top three hadn't seen the action between Max and George yet. Yes. So they're doing the post-race interviews. First of all, randomly, Terry Crews is there. Love it. Don't really understand it.
He is one of us. He is one of us.
It's great.
He was asked Paddock earlier on whether he's like just like a general fan, like doesn't have a team, or whether he has a team, and he goes, "I want to see the whole paddock, so I don't have a team." And I was like, "Me." Me, yes. I want to see the whole thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I just think that that's really funny, but they're like trying to ask them about things, and Oscar like completely spun the question in a totally different direction, and he goes, "So yeah," and they're like, "Okay, thanks, thank you for that completely non sequitur answer." And
I swear he keeps doing it, brother. Stay on track. Stay on track.
But I will give it to him because he hadn't seen the Max and George action, but then they like go into the cool down room and they're all watching. And Lando cracked me up. He goes, "I've done that before." And then there's like a really long pause in Mario Kart.
So funny.
So good. Thank God the microphones were freaking working in the cool down room. Because sometimes it's just like the buzzing of the air conditioning.
Yeah, and you're like, shh, shh, shh. I want to hear this. My show's on.
Let them roast. I want to hear them.
It's so funny. Absolutely so funny for no reason.
dear Lord, hilarious. But yeah, then on the podium, one of my favorite things about having Charles and Oscar on the same podium is Charles always follows Oscar around, just spraying him and terrorizing him, getting it in his eyes, in his ears, up his nose. Like, he's just like following that poor kid around, and Oscar's just like, no, please, like,
He's
give me a
trying
second.
best to make sure Oscar Piastri doesn't equal his wins in F1. He's like, go on, win again. I'm going to keep getting you in the eyes with champagne if you win again. He's trying best. And real,
That's so
honestly.
funny.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
I fear the
that's
only
that.
fact, comment, opinion, whatever, to end this episode on is I am terrified and scared to see the number 33 back on that Red Bull next season because I fear we will unlock Mad Max. We will bring Mad Max back.
Yeah, this is like upset Max.
This is like, yeah, this is, I'm upset. Everyone's like, Mad Max is back. And I'm like, we've seen nothing yet. We've seen nothing.
He hasn't ruined one of his own races with it yet. Like, even last season with Lando, like, they went off. Yes, they crashed. Max still finished P5 that race.
Literally. When
it's burned into my memory.
Crash into the barriers in the first turn of Silverstone, then I will say Mad Max is back.
Yeah.
Until then, we're just
upset Max.
Upset Max.
Yeah, no alliteration.
That is Mad Max.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's my fact of the day.
Yeah, well, I mean, that takes us from absolute front to absolute back of Barcelona.
Barca.
España. Actually, you don't say it on the S in España. But anyways, it's funny.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, that was literally the chaos of Spain.
Yeah, and we will catch you all in Canada.
Yeah, jeez. I don't know what we're doing next week, so don't ask. You will see when you see. You will know when we know.
Yeah, you'll know when we know, because we don't.
We've got no clues.
So stay tuned. Stay tuned if you'd like to be kept guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
If you like
but
to be
otherwise,
a person and you want to tell us what to do, you can do that as well. But
yeah.
other than that,
bye.
Bye.